welcome to What's Your Wrangle? I'm your host, Jennifer Shannon, and this season on the podcast, we're talking about the core components of digital transformation and the innovation space and helping to demystify some of these core pillars. On today's episode, we're looking at DevOps, which is a relatively new term, but not necessarily a new way of working. With me today are Bianca Spaziani and Meng Fu. Welcome. So happy to have you on the show.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you. So I think the first thing that I'd like to start with is there's a number of shared roles in the tech space. So, startups or enterprise companies have these shared roles. I'm not so sure that solution architect is one of those roles. So maybe Bianca, we'll start with you. What is a solution architect? Why are you a solution architect? And what's your mandate here at Rangle?
Well, I think a solution architect can get technologies and tools and solutions and bring a product or a service to a client based on this knowledge and experience and everything he knows or she knows. And I think that is it's connecting this strategy of the client or the company and creating the best solution for the clients with those knowledge and everything else.
So problem solver.
Yes.
Which is a pretty pivotal role, right? Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Meng?
Yeah, I guess my role is a solutions architect for DevOps and cloud. So that, I guess, focuses specifically around DevOps and being a DevOps advocate for our clients, understanding the constantly changing technical landscape, to being able to apply various different services to solve different problems. So it's been an interesting ride and a good one in that you don't get to work on the same thing all the time, and you got to be quick on your feet to be able to come up with a new idea, a new solution.
Yeah, that's pretty. And because a lot of what you're doing is, in fact, that discovery process with clients and trying to figure out, here's what they want to do, and here's the technology that exists. What is the best match, right? You're kind of matchmaking in a way, which is really interesting. So I think we should probably start at the beginning, which is DevOps is short for development ops. Maybe, Meng, you could just sort of start with, what is DevOps? What is DevOps and how does it work?
And that's a good question. I guess depending on who you ask, you might get different answers. DevOps, I guess, may be seen by some as a culture. It could be a tool, a processes, a framework. But really, it's the way we see it is it's a culmination of all these things that enable agile. So that's really the key word, the enable of agile. So it focuses around the lead time versus the process time, meaning that we look for ways to optimize the value stream to have continuous delivery of really usable features to the end users. So that's what I see DevOps as. Mm-hmm. And to your point, the DevOps is, the way you define it is development and operations. And that was how teams used to be organized. They were siloed before DevOps came to be. So back then, you would have development who would be focused on just writing code and trying to release things quickly. You would have the operations team that would be monitoring the site and ensuring the availability and uptime. So on the one hand, you have agility. The other side, you have reliability. A team that wants to ship code, a team that doesn't want any changes. Really conflicting interests, and that's where you have this proverbial wall, let's say, where dev would finish their work, get stuff committed, throw that over the wall, dust their hands up, and here you go, ops team, you run with it. So DevOps was coined back in about, I think, 2009, I believe, as a means to sort of break down this wall, to eliminate silos, so the teams can work together to deliver software quickly but confidently.
Bianca, how do you see this happening with you? Like, in terms of if a client's asking you what is DevOps, how are you explaining that in sort of their everyday terms, in the way that they understand?
Yeah, I think it's about breaking walls, like how to bring the development team closer to the operations team. How can they know each other's problem? How can they solve it together? So it's about it's not about a new tool. Oh, let's use a new tool here, or it's not. It can look like a very technical term, right? When you think, oh, DevOps, but it's not. It's more like a cultural thing. How can we put those people talking together, working together in a collaborative way? So how can we do this with tools, with processes, with collaboration
yeah.
and enabling collaboration. And so when you go to a company, oh, let's implement DevOps, how can you do this? How can you change your culture here so we can bring those teams together and deliver faster and better software quality?
And I love that notion of it being a cultural shift, because it is that idea that, you're not sort of saving everything up to put it out there and get feedback and iterate. It's put a little something out, like, sometimes multiple times a day, which is put it out there in, its smallest sort of MVP form, get some feedback, and then iterate and put it back out there. And that does represent a fundamental shift. Are you seeing that pain point from clients where they're like, okay, we get DevOps, but it's that shift, that hurdle of going from, we 6 weeks to a release, and now it's sort of well, why wouldn't we just release, 10% of that every single day? Is this something you've seen?
Definitely, I've seen that a few client projects I've been on, and definitely, I'm sure it's pervasive everywhere. If you look at the State of DevOps report, at least a few years back, it says that organizations are getting faster at automation, building out these CI/CD pipelines, getting code from commit out to staging, but they falter on sort of the last mile. So they can't get past the staging into production. So when they try to get into go to production, they're either holding back because they want to be cautious and worry about taking down the site, or they've tried it and faltered and run into issues and have to roll back. So that's been sort of the main drawback from really implementing DevOps the correct way.
So when you've got a client, Bianca, that's feeling a little hesitant about moving forward, what is that tipping point that you can explain to them that, DevOps allows you to, what is that thing that makes them go, oh no, I get it?
Yeah, I think you have different approaches of DevOps to different clients. When it's client starting, is that startup that wants to deliver something, an MVP fast. So yeah, you should definitely think about DevOps. And when a company wants to grow from a small project to a big project, so that's what DevOps it's made for you. You create something that it's small, and you monitor this growth of your project or your solution. So companies, like smaller companies, benefit better.
Yes.
But bigger companies also can benefit, but the cultural shift is harder for them, because to change a culture of a big company is hard. For a small company, it's easy because they are beginning, or there are few people. But for bigger companies, it's hard to change a culture. And what I would say to them, it's to start small with small wins. So when you start with a project and show the other teams that what are the benefits that you got from DevOps.
So there's an interesting theme that's recurring here. So if I was someone who was an innovation or digital transformation champion in a big bank or a big, fintech company or an enterprise company, my ears would be perking up right now, because basically what you're saying to me is DevOps allows you to take something small, a small portion, a project or whatever, create something, put it out there right away for feedback from your customer, get information, iterate, and actually share the success of that small focus group on getting buy-in across the organization. Is that what's happening?
That's absolutely, and as Bianca mentioned, culture is the foundation to DevOps. That's the underlying for everything. And most organization, well, anywhere I would say, as bigger organizations, it's hard to sort of change that culture, to have that mindset of collaboration and sharing and continuous learning.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And so as mentioned a little bit earlier, we talked about the automation, having that in place. That's one of the pillars to DevOps. Some of the other pillars that organizations may be missing is around the feedback, like you mentioned, the monitoring and the measurements. So that's a second pillar. So these pillars stem from the DevOps handbook, which talks about the 3 ways. So we talked about the automation, the flow,
Automation, yeah.
the feedback, which is the monitoring, and the continuous learning. So being able to deploy with maybe blue-green type deployment, Canary Deployment. And I would say I would even include a 4th pillar, which is sort of sharing, which wraps all that together. Having small collaborative teams that can sort of learn together, being able to share your not only your successes but the failures so that you can carry on to other projects and not make those mistakes.
With minimal risk.
That's right, absolutely.
Right,
And
yeah.
then having those advocates, those people on those teams, at least if you are a small organization or just trying to start out with DevOps to see how this would work, you have that core team work through this model, see how it operates, learn and gain from DevOps, and then you take these people, make them advocates, and then when you take on new projects, have them sort of lead and guide the ways of DevOps in these other projects.
And they're fueled by board members or C-suite's favorite thing, which is data. Right? I mean, you've actually put something out there and you said, no, we asked our customers, and this is exactly what they said back. You said something really interesting earlier, which was a Canary deployment. Talk to me about what that means. If we're talking about the same reference, which is canary in a coal mine, which is, they used to put a canary down there and if something happened to the canary, poor little canary, we knew that there was gas leaking in the mine as an example. Is that what we're talking about here? Sort of is putting something out there and making sure that things are okay?
That's absolutely it. That's where the term came from, with the canary in the coal mine, because it's so much smaller of a creature. It would be the first to go and would be an indicator of some problem.
Right.
So when we think of a canary type deployment, when you roll it into production, it really is just a smaller subset of your production cluster. It enables you to then be able to direct traffic to this canary environment that would have your new code, and have that sort of tested out with a subset of your live users, we say 10%, monitor that, see how it behaves, compare that to some baseline metrics. Once things are stable, then maybe you up it to 25%, 50%, and eventually 100% to roll out in a much safer fashion.
And every single time it's getting better and better and better and better because you're taking the data, iterating, changing, and making improvements, right?
That's right, yeah.
And you have Facebook example. Facebook is one of the early adopters of DevOps. They started in 2011 when they released a lot of features at once. And it was a mess for infrastructure performance. And they didn't know the feedback from the users. What feature was it about? It was a mess. And they started to think, wow, we can't do this anymore. We can't release a lot of features at once. What should we do? And so they started to adopt DevOps, and they kind of created some things we know now, because Facebook is huge. They have a lot of developers and a lot of teams. So they started to deliver those small parts of features to a part of users, so not for every user. And these features, they would have the feedback, and they would not have the problems with performance, or they could manage this and know how it was using their infrastructure. So they learned with this problem, and they use DevOps. They are one of the top companies using DevOps now.
And one could argue that Facebook made DevOps cool. And what I mean by that is all of a sudden it became, it wasn't, I hate the new Facebook or I hate the new Instagram and people not downloading the new release or whatever. But now it became, are you one of the small group of people that this is being tested on, right? So as soon as when people see that, they know that in fact is DevOps in practice, which is, let's throw it out to some of our top folks or people that are on the other end of the spectrum and say, are they able to use it? Do they like it? Is it solving a pain point that previously users had, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And to add to that, I mean, when I think about organizations doing DevOps well, Netflix is another example to follow.
Good one.
Yeah, if you ask the people at Netflix how they're doing DevOps, they'll tell you, we're not doing DevOps, it's culture. And which may come as a shocker, but really it is DevOps, but they have a strong culture that supports this framework, that they do it so well.
Interesting.
So the way they do things, they don't believe in building systems that say no to their developers or engineers. They don't say no production access, but they give their engineers the freedom to do things, but with the caveat that there's going to be a set of responsibilities attached to it and accountability. They don't believe in no production downtime, like uptime at all costs, but instead focus more on the velocity of innovation. They don't have things like processes and policies, but they have high trust and enablement in their people. That's why their success model is to hire people they can trust and to hire top talent that can get things done. So really, they have no silos. They build systems that they ultimately own. So they have shared ownership.
And from a recruitment perspective, can you imagine? Like if you're a developer they're essentially saying, you're smart people with smart ideas. Let's take away the infrastructure that is blocking you from shipping the code, in quotes, and actually get you to start putting your ideas based on user data into production. Come on, how great is that? Yeah, are you seeing clients adopting this and getting that thrill of seeing the things like how this is changing their creativity at the all levels of the organization? Have you seen that firsthand?
Yes, I've seen mostly in small companies or in those bigger companies examples. And yes, and this agility you get, it's amazing. And this sense of ownership that it brings. A lot of companies are talking about ownership, but how you deliver or how can you achieve ownership of your, it's not just by saying, oh, you have to be the owner of your code. It's giving this trust and giving this freedom to the developers to do what they can. And with the ownership, you can have less walls between everything, and you deliver your agility, the DevOps.
Because I could now see a world where at the table, it's not, it's marketing, operations, C-suite, development, and everyone's sitting around the table and marketing can say, well, here's sort of the what we're seeing in the data. Here's some of the insights that we're getting. And all of a sudden development becomes an integral part of that conversation and saying, well, what if we or what if we tried? And there's no handcuffs anymore to, it's risky. It's, okay, great, we'll roll it out to 5%. It's pretty powerful.
It is.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody thinks that DevOps brings this to the company,
Right.
right? Nobody
Yes.
thinks. Everyone is thinking about automation and tools
Right.
when they think about DevOps. But DevOps gives you.
But it's a way of thinking, which is really, really powerful. Yeah. I want to work for a company that's implementing DevOps. Come on, right? I mean, I'm really glad I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm guessing that if you are out there and you're looking at the companies that are doing well, we talked about Netflix and we talked about Facebook, but sometimes users wouldn't even know that DevOps is happening, but they're benefiting from DevOps being, sort of implemented. Talk to me about some of the companies that are doing it really, really well and the ways that we can see that they're doing it well and what it's doing for them. And Meg, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. Another one that comes to mind is Google, one of the biggest one out there. I don't know anybody who doesn't know Google, but their methodology for doing DevOps is rather SRE, it's just a new term for site reliability engineering, and that's where I would say the sort of framework originated. And the way they see DevOps, or the way they define it, they would say, if you ask them, they would say that if DevOps was an interface, then site reliability engineering would be a class that implements this interface. So they see DevOps as basically the glue for Agile, but SRE being the engine for continuous improvement. So they have, it's ultimately sort of the same thing, but they have, I guess, shared ownership. They have blameless postmortems. They believe in automating everything. They have.
Let's go back to that real quick. Blameless postmortems. Talk to me about what that is.
Yeah, it sort of implies that if things break down, we don't point the finger at any one individual. Rather, you take that as an opportunity to learn and iterate and develop and fix things, so that you basically be. Sorry, I don't know. But
It's like this is the same thing as a no blame culture. So it's
interesting.
a cultural thing. So you don't point your finger to, oh, it was that guy.
Right. Instead, it's what did we learn?
Yeah.
And it's courage to proceed. Right? So
right.
don't stop iterating. Don't stop being brave. Like, let's have that.
And sometimes you learn, sometimes no, every time you learn from your mistakes, not for what you did right.
Right.
It's always about what did I do that was not good here, and how can I learn with this and improve,
and even more important, how do I take those learnings and spread them across the organization, which is so powerful.
Yeah, that was it. The thought that I was missing was just that you have you embrace failure. You don't treat that as an issue. You actually just learn that from it, and you actually share, and you improve, and you prevent that in the future, but not by not pointing or blaming anyone.
So you can see why, to your point earlier about smaller companies being able to leverage this much easier because there's no infrastructure or silos, you can see why disruption is easy. I should say easier, because essentially they're really smart about putting stuff out there and getting feedback real quick, and they can take a pain point and solve it in an afternoon. Right, as opposed to you might have an enterprise company that's like, oh no, we know it's a pain point and it's been a pain point for 5 years now. We just don't know what to do about it, right? So what if you solved it in one market, or you solved it in one store even, and then just took that feedback? I love the idea of that. It's pretty cool. So if I asked you about the role that DevOps is going to play in, because I think we're sort of at early adoption in these innovation frameworks. If I asked you the role that DevOps is likely to play, not just with our clients, but sort of moving forward in the next sort of 2 years, what do you think the fundamental shift will be that this brings to mind? Will we lose the term DevOps and just adopt a DevOps framework or a DevOps approach? What do we think is going to happen there? Bianca, maybe we'll start with you.
I think like every technology, it evolves. So DevOps, it's evolving, and it's changing the way the companies. It's not just one framework that fits for everything or a process, or so you have to think about silos about verticals on your company and try to focus on what you want to deliver. And that's why there are some new terms like XOps or DevSecOps or
And what's XOps?
XOps. It's the general
Like the evolution
approach.
of it.
Yeah,
Oh, gotcha.
yes.
Okay.
I think Meng knows more about XOps. I know those specific ones that it's for security. If you want to implement security in your software or deliver more secure software, you introduce security in your DevOps process.
Interesting.
And you know that your security is in every step of your development and your
Security and quality.
yes
Right, which is something I
reliability.
really love about this. Yeah.
And so there is design ops that is bringing design thinking for your DevOps process. So how design is going to be implemented in my development and operations. How do I deliver a better a product with a better design here?
So completely
Focus.
removing the step by step.
Yes,
Right,
so
it's just-
focusing.
right.
It's like what you said, to bring those teams. So my company is focused on marketing. So let's bring the developers, the operations guys to the marketing team. Let's talk. Let's put everyone together and let's think about a process that could make the software be delivered faster and focused on what I want. In this case, marketing. You know, so it's introducing those verticals into those processes.
I have to just add to that with XOps. I think that if there's anything to take away from this talk is that DevOps is really not a revolution anymore. It's an evolution. And what differentiates an organization from a high-performing organization is one that is able to adjust quickly to the changing technological landscape. So when you mention XOps, it's no longer just DevOps, it's DevSecOps, it's DataOps, it's MLOps, it's DesignOps. So being able to fuse DevOps into these other verticals to deliver software quickly is what will define the next successful organization.
You can either walk to work or you can ride a scooter. It's up to you, right? Thank you so much for joining us on What's Your Wrangle. We hope that you found some moments that made you think, taught you something new, or sparked a conversation in your organization. Follow us on iTunes, Spotify to get notifications for all future episodes, and you can now watch our podcast on YouTube. So be sure to like and subscribe. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what we discuss each week and hear your point of view on the topic, so be sure to let us know what your wrangle is. You can use the hashtag AskWrangle on Twitter, or please feel free to email us at podcast@Rangle.io. Thank you so much to my guests today, Bianca and Meng. I really appreciate you taking the time to share this with us today.
Not a problem. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Have a fantastic day.